to my channel, Thrive, Don't Survive. Today, we're going to be interviewing Kate Troyer. She's a Feng Shui lifestylist, and she's going to give us some tips and some info in how important it is to have a house that is aligned with what you want and your values and having it clean, organized. So let's hear it from her. Enjoy. Hi, Kate. Welcome to Thrive, Don't Survive. Thank you so much for being here. So please introduce yourself first.
Yes, Vero, thank you so much for having me. So, my name is Catherine Troyer. I am a feng shui lifestylist. That is a name that I have given myself. I'm a certified feng shui practitioner. And the reason I use the word lifestylist is I want people to understand that, practicing and playing with feng shui isn't just about moving furniture around in your home. It truly is a lifestyle, and it's a practice that not only makes your space feel really amazing, but it's a practice that allows you to get more internal and create a more amazing life for yourself. So I've been practicing now for almost 4 years. And prior to that, I had a home staging and design consulting business. So I've kind of been in the realm of home for a very long time. But the feng shui part is, a little bit newer to my practice, but it was something that when feng shui, I like to say feng shui found me, it literally just fell in my lap. And when it did, I became so obsessed with it and so passionate about it that I completely changed my entire successful business model to pursue it and really make it my life's work. So,
That's so cool. So first, can you please explain what Feng Shui means, please?
yeah, so the way I like to describe feng shui is that it's a practice from the awareness that your home is your mirror. It's a reflection of your internal energy. So anything that has gone on in your past is currently going on in your present, or you expect to happen in your future, can and will show up in your home. And that's good, bad, or indifferent. And I know a lot of people get a little overwhelmed or can become confused by feng shui. But I think describing it and explaining it in that way is really the foundational layer that any practice can be built upon, whether you want to go really deep into the practice or whether you want to stick with just knowing that your home is a reflection of your internal energy, which to me, just knowing that is such a huge thing and makes such a difference in how we interact, with our spaces and within our home.
That makes so much sense to me. So I used to be a mess, and I used to be a mess inside and outside. So I was like inside, I was just not feeling great. I was an immigrant for the second time, and I was just feeling like a victim all the time, and my life was not great. And I was a mess. I didn't do my bed. I didn't clean, like it was just like so reflective of how I was feeling inside. And then I started to get certified to be a coach during COVID. And like I started getting all of these tools to like heal from the inside. And then just magically, I just started like cleaning and making my bed, and my house always looks the same. And it's like, it's so interesting. And somebody told me once also that the Buddhists, which I think the term comes from, I'm not sure, say that, yeah, your house, the way it looks is the reflection of how you feel from the inside. And that made so much sense to me. So yeah, where do you know a little bit of where the term comes
Oh
from?
my gosh, yeah. So feng shui is actually a practice that is originated in ancient China. It's been
Oh.
around for 4,000 years in being called feng shui. Um, so that's where the ancient art of feng shui originates, but there are definitely different forms, different practices that have been taken on throughout the world. Like just within China, there are different forms of feng shui. And then I'm actually certified in a in essential feng shui from the Western school of feng shui. So that differs a little bit where we use, I feel like all of the forms use the same basic principles and the rules or guidelines, whatever you'd like to call them, from the original ancient Chinese practice, but they're all kind of understood and practiced slightly differently. So in Western school, we're a little bit more loose with the rules, and I don't necessarily. And I think that's why that type of practice resonated with me is I've never been much of like a rule follower. I always want to like hear the information and then manipulate it to where it works in my life or it makes sense to me, right?
Mhm.
So in essential feng shui, we take those rules more as guidelines
Okay.
and we create, each one of us kind of has a slightly different practice in the way that we work with clients. And it's very much about instead of, this is a one size fits all type of situation. It's really more intuitive and based on the individual client and for the individual to kind of interpret and give them again like this really awesome foundation of tools of knowledge to open up into their own space and their own internal feelings to create a home that really supports, works, inspires them.
That is really interesting. That's kind of like coaching, like where
Yeah.
every person is different and they need different tools, but you only like almost like put the light into the problem instead of telling them what to do, and then they can make it their own and they go through their own changes. That's very cool. So tell me what like your work consists in, what are the things that you do as the feng shui person and how does that affect the individual, the client that you're helping?
Yeah, so I think what my genius has been kind of unfolded into is one, creating a more modern language around the practice of feng shui. When I was first getting certified, I was like, why isn't this like super popular, right? Like, it's a wellness practice that involves your home, and especially 4 or 5 years ago, like wellness was like such a buzzword. I mean, it still is now, but it was like really, I mean, right? Like becoming a certified coach and whatnot, like all things wellness are just constantly shoved in our face. And I'm like, why isn't this more popular? I don't understand. And what I found was that there wasn't or there weren't a lot of practitioners and people that were understanding that there needed to be a slightly different like a language shift, and not just a language shift but also like it needed to be talked about in a way that people could easily relate to it, because I'm sure you know this as humans, when we hear words, phrases, things like that that we immediately don't have a reference point for, our earmuffs kind of go on like subconsciously and we're like, oh yeah, that sounds so cool, but we're not really listening
Mhm.
because we have no reference point. So that's kind of been like the, I would say, the first leg of my journey, and a big part of what I do is taking this ancient practice that often overwhelms and confuses people and making it easy to understand and really fun to play with. And I use the word play in very intentionally, because I believe that, or I've even seen with clients, so many people have come to me and said, I've used feng shui, I've been into feng shui for years, and I get to a certain point and I get so overwhelmed, I'm afraid I'm going to do something wrong. And I always am just like, oh, I just think that's so silly because, you're moving things around, you're experimenting with your home. And that to me is like, that's play. That's not something you should be afraid of. You know what I mean? And I take it back to another foundational thing, which is that if it feels good to you, it's probably good. If it feels bad, it's probably bad. Right. And, I think at this time in our society where we have our hands on so much information and we're constantly bombarded with it, and there's so many people that are willing to tell you what's right and what's wrong and you should do this and you should do that, that one, that gets overwhelming, and two, to me, that really takes away our personal power. And so for me, it's so important to give resources, and to give skills and knowledge to people that they can then play with, right, within their own space, within their own life, and see like how that feels for them, right? And a lot of times people just need that permission to empower themselves. And I've just, I found that when I was just doing design consulting. And so that's why this kind of was like such a beautiful transition for me. I felt like feng shui, when I found it and I started reading about it and immediately became obsessed with it, I felt like it gave me a language that like I wasn't aware I was speaking, or I was doing but I wasn't aware of, since I was like a little kid. And so it's really important for me to basically kind of do the same for other people. So I not only work with one-on-one clients, but I do a ton of workshops and teach at retreats and all of that kind of thing. Teaching has really become a passion of mine, again, because I don't think you need someone to do something for you. You need someone that can come in, give you skills, give you knowledge, and empower you to take control of your own life, of your own home, whatever medium that might be, so that you're really the one that reaps the benefits of that. And I think it's so much more inspiring to your own psyche when you take something that someone has assisted you with and you make it your own, and you're able to come out and be like, oh my God, I did that. Right. And and that with life coaching, right? But feng shui is so cool because, when we're doing life coaching or therapy or anything like that, that's so internal, right? And we don't often see the change right away,
Mhm.
right? Well, that's why I love feng shui one, and I love coupling it with other modalities like coaching or therapy, because it takes that stuff we're doing internally and it projects it into our external environment. And when we can make a change in our space, we see that pretty immediately, right? It gives us that, like, oh, we can see the physical change. And I think that can be really, really helpful, especially for people that are struggling or have been struggling for a long time, whether it's in their home or their personal life. I mean, we know it's all interchangeable, but I think it really helps to like have that external visual to be like, I accomplished something. Because sometimes when we're working on ourselves internally, we don't always see that right away. And sometimes we can feel a little discouraged.
Mhm.
So being able to like also see it in our home and make that physical visual change can be a really powerful aspect to, changing our internal life and our lifestyle.
That's amazing. Yes. I actually think there's some doctors that have proof that basically, like, they look at your brain, and if you go into a room and there's things everywhere, it's kind of like it's attacking you. And so
Yeah.
you kind of go into like all these distractions and like fight or flight, and it's like it's even not good for your creativity.
Mhm.
Um, so that's one of the things that I also teach or like suggest to my clients to do too, because like it does bring you down, and your nervous systems go down if everything is clean and nice and however you want it to be. Even apparently if you have things stored, and like that has like emotional charge that is taking space. And apparently, if you take that out and purge, then you have more space and more peace inside of you. So, is that something that you teach? Are there like rules that you do, like you need to purge things or not, or how does it work?
Yeah, so I love that you brought that up because it hits on a couple different points. One is that, we have to create space for the things that we desire to move in. So if we have no space, the universe is always working in the way of like, hey, you can have whatever you want, but are you prepared for it? Right? And often we want things before we're prepared for them, which is why we have this concept of time and, so on and so forth. We won't go too deep down that rabbit hole. Um, but if we're thinking about it in that sense, 100%, like you can't create new things in your life when your life, i.e., your home, which is just a direct reflection of you, right? You create your reality, you create your home. It's created from you, from your energy. It's really hard to bring new things in or to change circumstances when when a space is so full of things that there's no room for anything new to come in, right? So to me, I believe that it's like a universal law is when we create space, we create like a vacuum, right? Like the universe wants to fill it. And I'm not talking like filled, like from the floor to the ceiling filled. That's maybe we might get into that later with like clutter and things like that, but really you have to create a space for the good that you desire to come in. So that's one part of it. And I love that you talked about how things in your space like affect how you feel, affect your creativity. And everybody's slightly different, right? Like some people are extremely minimalist and they like nothing, like that works for them, that feels good for them. Other people are more maximalist where they like a lot of things, but their homes are still clean and organized, right? So there is kind of this gray area for every individual. And again, what feels good to you, but a place that's dirty, a place that has stuff lying around, a place where things don't have a home, that doesn't feel good to anyone. And for someone that says that feels good to them, it's again, that's what their nervous system is used to, right?
Mhm.
Like if that feels good to them, it's actually causing, right, a lot of chaos internally because they have a lot of chaos going, and that is normal to them.
Mhm.
Doesn't necessarily feel good. So that's where it's like, I think working with a practitioner comes in handy when you have more of those deeper cases or issues or just things going on. Someone to point those things out and kind of help you through that is really helpful. But in general, I think it's really just important to note that like having a lot of stuff everywhere and never moving it. I think that's a really good point to make too. Like, so there's three basic principles of feng shui that basically all the different forms are built upon. And that is that everything is energy. We know that as a scientific fact. So everything has energy. So in essence, your home and all the inanimate objects within it have energy, which means they're alive, just like you and me. They're just, vibrating a little differently. So that is huge, right? To just really think about your home as being this organism that is there to support you and make your life easier, and it wants attention, and it wants you to play around with it and have good energy in it, and wants to give you good energy back. And then the second principle is that everything is connected. Okay, all energy is connected, and we've talked about how the internal feeds the external and vice versa, and it's this ever changing cycle. And we see that in so many different modalities, right? It's not just feng shui. Feng shui just happens to be the medium that looks at your home specifically as that thing. And then the third is that everything is always changing. So we know in life that nothing ever stays the same, that it's always changing. And because of that, your home should always be changing as well. Now, I'm not saying that you fully design and redecorate every room, multiple times a year or anything like that. It's not so much about the design. It's about constantly tweaking your space to serve and support you. So as your life changes, as things come, as things go, as you start new routines, practices, your kids are little, your kids are teenagers, your kids move out and go off to college. Now you have grandkids, so on and so forth. You may be changing homes at these times, but if you're, let's just use the example of staying in one home forever, we'll just say that you're doing that. Your home should be tweaked. It's just another thing that should be tweaked to support your lifestyle. So it's going to be very different when you have toddlers versus when they're teenagers versus when they move out and it's just you and your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where that everything is always changing comes in. That's where I have like, I don't get me wrong, I did design consulting for years. I love aesthetics. I love interior design, right? I love a beautiful space. But I have a problem with creating a room that's supposed to be this room that looks exactly like this until I feel like redesigning it. Because that is now a room that is there aesthetically first and needs second, wellness second.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe that over the next several years, and we're already starting to see it a little bit, where that's going to get flip flopped, where the feeling, the needs, and the wellness of your space comes first, and the aesthetic comes second. And we're going to start seeing more lived in, usable homes. It's kind of like, to me, like, if you went to like a runway show and the clothing and stuff that you're seeing, it's what inspires the streetwear pieces, but it's more of like art and for fun. And that's kind of where I see like interior design going in the way that it has been for so long. Like that's more of like an art piece and it's so beautiful and it has its place. But how practical is it to live in and support your overall well-being? I don't know if that's like a long-term thing, but that's just my that's just my 2 cents on that. But so I really, when I'm working with people, when I'm teaching classes, my thing is always like, let's focus on how a space currently feels, right? And dissect like what feels good, what feels bad, is that specific things. Like let's just focus on how we feel, like take the aesthetic out of it. How do we feel in here? How would we like it to feel? And then from there, what needs to be removed to support that feeling and what can be added to support that feeling? Because a lot of people are much better and more creative at putting their spaces together than they think they are. It's just they're told and they're seen that this is what a beautiful space looks like. But a beautiful space is really one that you feel amazing in and supports your needs.
That's very interesting. I've never seen it that way. I've never been a person to know what interior design is. I had no idea what was pretty or not pretty. I don't think in my household it was like that either. My parents, it was just like, yeah, we need this, and then they'll put it there. And same in my house, like my couch was somebody I was dating before. Their mom was getting rid of the couch, and it was beautiful. And I'm like, give me the couch, you know, things like that. So I've never been like that person to go like to Pinterest and this is beautiful. I need this and I need this to be like this. I know that I like vibrant colors and that's my personality and all my things are vibrant colors, but I do like, I don't know, I think I've learned little bits by, I don't know, dating people or living with people where, okay, I like my room to be very plain, nothing. I think I'm a minimalist. Like I don't have many things. I've been a nomad for, I'm Venezuelan, I lived in France and now I live in New York and now I live in Florida. So I like to not have anything. Like I have the bare basic things and I like it to look good. But I've never been that person to be, and I know a lot of people like that, to be this doesn't go with this, that color. Like I don't even know. I don't have the knowledge. And sometimes I might do things that are not in the norm or whatever.
I
But
love that.
I did create a home where I've had roommates live with me, and they're like, this is such a peaceful environment. And I don't know how I did that, but I did it, and I didn't know there was a way
Well,
to.
because you said, what do I like, right? And I'm going to take the things that I like and I'm going to put them in my home. So many people don't do that. They're like, well, I like this, but what should I like? And I'm like,
Hmm.
and I was, this started with design clients. And I'm like, if you tell me you love something, bring it home with you. We'll find a place for it. If you tell
Hmm.
me that you love this couch that's already here, don't look at me and say, but is it okay if I keep this? I don't live here. I don't live in your house. Like, if you love this couch, it's comfortable, your family loves it, then we should build around that, right? Like, there are tweaks and things like that, that if somebody's interested in that. But I always have found inspiration. And since I was a little kid, I always found inspiration. I loved going to other people's homes, right?
Mhm.
And like my friends, like parents, my favorite parents were the ones that like were always moving stuff around and doing stuff in their houses. And even as an adult, like, so I've been dog sitting randomly for like the last year since my dog passed away last summer, and I
Sorry.
wasn't ready to get another dog, but I'm like, okay, what can I do, that like gives me dog time, but kind of thing. And that's something that I've noticed with like living in people's homes, for a week or two at a time, is I actually there's like a little part of me that really enjoys that aspect of it, because I get to like see their personality and know them through being in their homes and their spaces. Like the room that I'm sitting in now is literally, they travel a lot, this couple, and it's literally just filled with cool pieces of artwork that they framed and picked up from all over the world. It's like, so that immediately tells me that they love adventure and travel, and they like to commemorate, like it looks like each trip. And it's just really, and they have beautiful huge plants I mean, they're just literally everywhere. And I think that's just, to me, that's how someone should feel when they walk in. It sounds like your home feels like you,
Mm-hmm.
like the vibrant colors, but at the same time, there's like, you are a little more minimalist, right? You don't have necessarily things everywhere. And like, again, that's where everyone is very different. Like the energy in this home that I'm in right now feels really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
There's more stuff in here than I like in my personal home, but
Mm-hmm.
like it feels like them and it feels good. And so that's where I think it's really important for you to just say, what feels good to me? What do I like? And it sounds like you've just naturally done that in your spaces. And so you've looked at, what do you love and how does the space feel to me first? And it makes other people feel good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That to me is really what we should be thinking about when we're quote unquote like designing our homes.
Okay. That's cool. I like that because I have no idea. I want to learn. I want to learn to, the rules too. I learned with different people that I've lived with to put things in little boxes, like in the pantry and under the sink and in the bathroom sink and all that stuff. And that like gives me peace. Like I didn't know before that that was a thing. I had no idea. And so I lived with somebody that did that, and like they showed me how to do it, and we did it for my house, and it was amazing. And I've never went back to just having everything on the drawers or and so why does that make you feel so good when you start like putting things in little boxes?
Well, oh gosh, I've never thought about it that way before, like the actual question. So I love that you asked that. To me, I think there's like a level of in all of us that feels good when we know where things are.
Mm,
and it's easy for us to retrieve the things that we need when we need them. So, for example, like you talked about, like under the kitchen sink or under the bathroom sink, right? We used to just put things in there, right? And we knew what was in there, but it was often like, oh, we've got to move this product and this, oh, here's something all the way in the back. But now that, bins have been introduced to all of us, which it's same for me. Like I just started doing this probably, like really getting into it. And I hate the over aesthetically putting things in bins. I
Hmm.
think it's wasteful. And I think you are buying things just to put in your bins, which that seems really silly to me. But just that, hey, here's what I need, here's what I use. To me, it's like, okay, instead of getting down in the cabinet, right, and trying to search through what's in there and pulling stuff, you just pull out your bin. You pull out your bin, you bring it out, and you say, oh, here's what I need, right? And I think for anyone, that just brings a sense of ease
Mhm.
and calmness to life, right? It's a simple way that you can allow your home to support you,
Right. Yes.
to make your life easier. Like your home is, so, what is a home for? It's a foundation, it's got walls, it's got a roof. It's there to keep us safe, it's there to support us in like having a place to go to. And so that's kind of the general energy of what a home wants to do for you. It wants to support you, it wants to keep you safe, it wants to make your life easier. And often we do things within our spaces because we're not thinking about, hey, how could this space serve me better? That actually makes things harder. Like even I think the kitchen is a really great place that we could see example of that is, if you drink tea, let's say you make yourself tea or coffee every single day, but your coffee coffee cups are put away, coffee's put away, your sweetener. You know what I mean? Like to me, I love to decorate with things that I use. So
Mhm.
like to me, having like my own little coffee or tea bar where everything is right there and it's accessible to me. And the only thing I have to do is grab a cup and like my creamer out of the fridge, like everything's set up and ready to go. You can make that aesthetically pleasing, right? You put it on a little tray, maybe you have a little plant beside it. But I think, a way that we can, in extension to the bins, right? Another way to make your home support you, make your life easier is to start decorating with things that you use all of the time. So that way they're out, they're ready for you, they're not shoved away somewhere. So you're like, oh, I love to light incense. That's something, me personally, like I light incense all the time, several times a day. And so a few years ago, I got tired of like opening my drawer and having all these bags and boxes of incense I was sorting through. So I got on Amazon and I got like those glass cylinder pasta jars.
Mhm.
And I keep all my incense in those. And so it looks pretty and I keep them on a bookshelf, right?
Mhm.
Because I use them, they're right there. I'm not looking through a box or anything like that. I just grab the one I want. It looks aesthetically pleasing, but it's something that I'm using all the time. And so I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the bins, right? Like having things that are accessible and easy for us to get to just naturally makes us feel better. That was a really long way to answer your question, but
That was great, and actually made me feel like I was experiencing like what I experience when I have bins and things, and it's basically fun. It's fun. It's more fun than not having them. It makes your experience fun. It's like, oh, look, like it's pretty, it's there, and it's so easy to do, and it's better. So I don't know. It also makes me feel accomplished.
yeah, right. Because when you go to look for something, you know where the heck it is. You're not searching all over. You're just like, oh, let me go grab my bin. That's where all that stuff is.
Like I'm so smart. I did this
So
for
I
this.
think it's like important to mention for people that are not like anally organized, because for some people, those bins are going to be really organized, right? Like down to the detail. And for people like me, I I like things organized and I like a home, but like as long as I have my bin and I know what goes in the bin, I'm pretty good. Like I don't need things to be perfect. I just need it collected in a space. And so I think again, that's where just something really simple like that
Mhm.
makes such a difference, can make such a difference in anyone's life,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it can be used again in a way that suits you. So
Exactly.
the same concept.
So what would you say to somebody that is moving into a new home? Like they bought a home, they've never been there, but it's a old home, not like a new home. Or it could be anything, but what are the Feng Shui recommendations for that?
So, the first thing I would recommend that people do, and this is going to be a little off topic, but it's just what I would recommend. I'm moving into a new apartment this weekend and I get the keys tomorrow. I'm going to be doing this tomorrow. So I'd love that you asked this. Is I would clear your space, like space clear, um, deep clean, even if it's already been cleaned. I mean, that's up to you, right? I just like knowing, that I've cleaned it or whatever. But I think doing a space clearing, and I'll give you some examples of how you could do that in a minute. But clearing the space, right, to remove any energy that isn't yours, and then setting an intention for what you want to experience within that space while you live there. That could
Okay.
be long term, it could be short term, depending on and then I think also it's really important, and this might sound silly. And so if it doesn't resonate with people, it's totally fine. I think like getting to know your home, like talking to your space, right? Again, we talked about how everything is, and that might feel really silly for some people. So if it does, that's totally fine. You don't have to do that. But we talked about how everything is energy, and everything that has energy is alive. It's just not necessarily alive and expressive in the same way that we as humans are. And so if our home is alive, to me, I think it probably feels good, or it enhances the energy in my home when I acknowledge it, right? I'm not like sitting down having like full-blown conversations like a crazy person with my house, but maybe just acknowledging like, when you're setting your intention like, oh, I'm so grateful that I found you, and I can't wait for all the experiences we're going to share together. And I'm so grateful for the foundation and the support that you give me as my home. Maybe it's like when you come home, you're just like, hey, house, or like when you leave, you say goodbye to it. Just kind of this like cordial relationship, right, that you build with your space. Um, but I think that's just part of like, to me, the more that you are in relationship with your space, the more benefit you're going to get out of it. Like the more support and the more positive energy you're putting out, the more positive energy you're going to get back. And again, that's with anything, but we're just talking about, from a feng shui home perspective. So I talked about space clearing. And this can really be depending on your level of interest or comfortable ability. Oh, I can't say that word. Depending on how comfortable you are with different tools, right? Will determine what you can do. But you could simply just, when you walk into your space, again, like set an intention of, I would like to let go, release any stuck or stagnant energy from previous tenants, or even if your home is new, from the people that built the home, from anything that went on in here before I lived in here. I just want to release and let go of that and claim this as my space now. And so you can do that by just setting the intention. You can get out your sage. You can, kind of do whatever feels good to you. To me, there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's, different ways that the deeper you get into space clearing, that hold more ritual. But I think you could do what feels good to you. And then again, setting that intention of after you've, released, let go of whatever it might be there that isn't yours. It's just setting the intention. of how you want that home to love, support you, what you want to bring into your life while you're there. Like I set the intention of, bringing in new blessings in my love life and my career. I want this place to be filled with joy and happiness, and I want this to be a space that, I love to entertain. So I want this to be a space that people love to be in. And when I entertain, they don't want to leave. They want to feel really good in here. Right. And just really claim that space, not like ownership of it, but for the intentions that you want to see in your life while you live there. I think that's really important. And that's important with anything, intentionality.
That's really cute. That reminded me of gratefulness. I don't talk to my house, but I do. It's always in my list of my grateful things that I'm like the list of grateful things that I'm citing every day to feel good. But yeah, I've never heard of that. I'm gonna start doing that. And I also have a question about like the negative energies. So I've been in places where there is an energy, and it doesn't matter if it's clean or not, or if it's messy or not. There is like an heavy energy to it, and like you can't sleep well, and I don't know, there's something that is heavy about it. So what would you say that is, and how can you clean it?
So I think that depends on the circumstance. I think a heavy energy could be the energy of someone that used to reside in the home, but it could also be that there's something going on with one person or with a couple or what. There's something heavy going on in their lives, and that energy has manifested into the home as well, which is more of an energy rather than like a spirit.
Hmm.
But I think it could be either. And, a lot of times when people are living in it and it comes from them, they're so used to that. They feel that on the inside. They often are not noticing it externally. They might be, but a lot of times I see that they're not noticing that. And then again, like it could be a spirit. It could be something that's like, no, I'm going to continue to hang out here. So I think it depends. If you're not the person that lives at the home, I feel like there's not a lot you could do if you were house or dog sitting though. Like I think there's a level of like, or you're going in and you're spending time in someone's home where you feel this heaviness, is really thinking about how you are protecting and closing off your vessel, right? So if you notice it while you're there, maybe you go to the restroom or something and you just kind of like ask for protection or ask, kind of like zip up your energy, zip up your aura so that you are not being affected as much by that. I mean, you're probably still going to notice it, but you're setting the intention of not letting it kind of seep into your energy, right? And then I would say when you leave that space, I think it would be really a wise idea to take a shower when you get home, to again set that intention of like, this isn't my energy. I want to let it go. I want to release it, that type of thing. So that's something you can do if you're in someone else's home. If this is your home and you are feeling this, I mean, again, you can do a very ritualistic space clearing, which could include a lot of different things. But if this is something that's not a spirit, if this is coming from something going on, Cleo, come here, going on in your life, that is really like a problem that needs to be addressed inward, right?
Okay.
Because you might be able to clear the space and you feel that it feels good for a while, but if there's still internal stuff that's heavy that's going on, it's going to come back into the space again, right? So, but I think clearing and figuring out, ooh, where is this coming from, and doing something about it internally. And then if it's a spirit, again, same thing. Like that's where I would say like you probably want to work with some sort of space clearer, practitioner, medium, like whatever calls to you, whatever feels good to you. But I think, especially if it feels really bad. But I think the first thing, because I've been in experiences like this, especially staying in other people's homes where there's definitely been something in the home. And I know it's not just an energy, right? Like I know it's a spirit or something. And my first thing is to like, okay, I don't need to be afraid of this because this is just like a human being like me, but it's just, at a different frequency or at a different vibration. And so for me, again, it's more about like talking to it. Hi, this is who I am. This is why I'm here. That type of thing. Cause I've definitely experienced where I felt like a spirit was curious about me, like if I'm house sitting or something like that. Cause it's like, wait a minute, you're bringing all this stuff in with you, like if you're staying for a long period of time. And so I think it's just kind of like, hey, hi, this is why I'm here, and not letting ourselves be afraid. And it's easy to be afraid, right? Because we can't see, and it's a little unnerving. It's gonna make us a little uncomfortable. But like, hey, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Can you please stop making me uncomfortable? Like, and a lot of times just speaking to it helps so much, right? And then maybe that sounds a little crazy or silly, but it's just personal things that I've experienced in my own life, and it's been really beneficial. So I'm not really sure that that gives you a very direct answer to your question, but I think every circumstance is different. Um, but I think really important if you're someone visiting a home and just the energy doesn't feel good, to really kind of zip up your own energy and ask for kind of peace and calm internally so that you can navigate being there, release it once you leave.
Nice. And what if it's an energy of somebody else that lived there before?
And like you're living in the home.
Hmm.
So again, I think that and it depends on Cleo. Can you hear her really loudly?
Oh, not that loud.
She's very spirited. She's a little basset hound.
Mhm.
um so if this is your home and there's a spirit, someone that has passed or that used to live there, I think that's going to depend on, again, like, does it feel bad or does it just feel like there's another energy there with you? Because I think the majority of the time it really doesn't feel bad. It just, again, makes us uncomfortable, so we're like, oh, go spirit, bad, right? But a lot of times it's just they love that place, or their energy is kind of hanging out there because they loved that place so much. So again, I think I would start with like speaking to it and asking it, like, hey, this is our home now, da 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 da. We really appreciate you watching over this space. We know that you loved it and that makes us so happy, but we want to make it our space now. That type of thing, like trying to speak to it first, and just maybe allowing the spirit to be a little curious about you, because a lot of times at first that's what it is. And then you could go through clearing the space. You could research how to do that and try doing it yourself. Again, you're not going to do anything wrong. And it should be with the intention of like sending love and good energy to whatever is there so that it feels good enough to move on. You know what I mean? It's not like this evil bad thing that you're like, get out of our house, like type of thing. I would
Mhm.
say the majority of the time it's not that. Like an earthbound spirit is not typically something that's like evil and dark and awful. Not that it cannot be, but the majority of the time it really isn't. So I think working through that, and then again, if you're still not seeing it subside, then probably calling someone in to assist you in getting rid of whatever that is. And again, it's just being very intentional and having an awareness of what's going on in your space and how it's affecting you.
Right. And so let's say if I hire you and you already know my needs and you already know everything. So what are the typical things that we're gonna do together?
Well, everyone's slightly different, again, because of needs and what's going on. But I'd say one of the main things we're going to look at is your home energy map. It's typically referred to as a Bagua map. But again, that's one of those words that people are like, Bagua, what? And so I call it a home energy map. It's kind of like, if you think about your astrology chart, your human design chart, it's similar to where this is a chart, basically a map that we put on your floor plan. And once we put that on our floor plan, we're going to see it's always made up of 9 different aspects of your life. There's one in the center that is like you as a whole. And then surrounding it in a square or rectangle are 8 main aspects of your life. And so we can put that down on your floor plan, and that's going to show us love and relationship area, abundance area, inner child, so on and so forth. And so we're going to see where those aspects of your life are being mirrored in your home. And that's something you can do it on one room, on the whole house, like both, right? But that's going to kind of help you get a little bit deeper into what's going on internally. And because if let's say that you're having love and relationship areas, if we put that on your entire home and each room, we're going to probably notice something in the love and relationship area of your home in each, like within even each space, right? Because again, you kind of naturally allow like an energy buildup there because there's an energy buildup going on internally, between you and the relationships in your life, right? And it could be current relationships, it could be stuff from your past, it could be things from childhood, so on and so forth. So we're going to work together to say, oh, okay, here's where we're seeing this in your home. We're going to talk about what we can do physically within the home to support healthy relationships and setting intentions on bringing in the type of relationships. And this could be romantic relationships, business relationships, partnerships, friendships, all really important relationships to you. And most importantly, the relationship with yourself, right? So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about routines or different things that you're going to bring into your life that support that internal growth of self love and bringing in the relationships that you want to attract, so on and so forth. So that's typically kind of how we do it. And there would be like, okay, if we talked about buying some new things for your place and you were like, can you give me some examples, right? I don't shop for clients as much anymore because I think their energy and intention is really important. But it may be like, oh, like, we're looking for stuff to fluff up the bedroom and we want to bring this romance in and the fire element. And so I might be like, I really like these wall colors and here's a few rugs or, kind of whatever we talked about so that your space can inspire what you're trying to work through and create on the inside. And that's done throughout the whole house, throughout individual rooms. Some clients, we focus more internally and we talk about, okay, this is what's going on internally. What practices can we add to your life that will support you in moving through this? And then once we've determined those practices, what are we setting up in your home to support you in those practices? Like maybe it's a meditation practice. Well, where do you meditate in your home? I don't really have a specific area. Okay, that's a problem to me, right? Like you need to create the space so that it's easy for you, so that you can easily make it a part of your routine. So you get excited about, oh, okay, it's going to be this chair. I love this chair. And okay, what do you like to have before, during, and after you meditate? Whether it's for, 10 minutes or an hour. Oh, I really like to have my journal. I like a blanket. I want to light a candle. I mean, it could be all or none of those things. But then, again, creating a space. Oh, I want to start this new yoga routine, and the class I want to go to is at 7 a.m. And okay, great. Like, where are your clothes that you wear to yoga? Oh, they're stored. Okay, well, now we need to move them front and center to this drawer, and so they're easy for you to get to. And maybe we add into our nighttime routine laying out our clothes, and you keep your yoga mat in your car, or it stays beside the back door where you go out to the garage. Like, it's just those little things that are setting your home up to serve this new lifestyle that you're trying to create.
Interesting. So if somebody wants to have, let's say, attract a good relationship, for example,
Mhm.
um, are there ways to change your house for that?
Yeah, so I think one, you could work with the love and relationship area of your home specifically. And if anybody's curious about that, how to use the home energy map, I have a digital guide ebook on my website that you could download and play with. But the thing that I like to recommend the most is working within your bedroom. No matter where it's at in your energy map, your bedroom represents the most intimate, secret, private parts, of your internal energy and of your life. And I really think it's also a great place to cultivate self love, right? And so to me, when we're wanting to call in our ideal partner, we need to start with self first. We need to become the type of person that we are wanting to attract. And I think that your bedroom, we spend a lot of time in there. We're absorbing a lot of energy subconsciously while we're sleeping. So it should be a space that feels really good to us, inspires us. Like, I want people to open their bedroom door and be like, this is my bedroom, right? Like, oh, I get to like go to sleep tonight. And they should wake up and open their eyes and be like, oh my God, this is my bedroom. It feels so good in here. I feel inspired, right? So that being said, I think there are some kind of a handful of foundational kind of general things that I'll tell people about the bedroom for calling in a partner, things that you can do. So having two matching nightstands and two matching lamps, right? It's kind of a feng shui, like, I think a lot of people have heard of that. And the reason for that is you want to call in a balanced, harmonious partner, someone that matches you, not someone, that like you have the nightstand, they have no nightstand, or you have one nightstand, and you're like, gosh, why do I keep going on like one or two dates, but like nothing's, like working out? Well, the symbolism is most likely in your room. And if that's the point you want to be in life, and like those are the kind of relationships you want for a season, go down to one night stand and try, like see the energy of that. Um, so having that, the other could be is like the one night stand that you aren't using, make sure it's cleaned out, right? Give someone space. I'm not saying you meet someone and you immediately move them in and that's the goal, right? But the idea of giving space to someone, having that empty space for someone's, things, quote unquote. You do the same thing in your closet or a drawer in your dresser, where you create, you move, you've got a little bit of space in your closet. Maybe you empty a small drawer in your dresser, again, symbolizing that I'm open to, someone new coming into this space. And then I think as well, creating that bedroom that just feels so good to you. So, using like skin tone, earth tone, warm toned colors in your bedroom are really nice, in the paint colors and your linens. And creating a bedroom that feels soft and nurturing. And to me, like if we're thinking about decor for that, rugs on the floor, right? Whether you have carpet or not, I just love a good rug under the bed. It feels good. It helps ground the space. Having a solid headboard, um, again, really important to just help you sleep better, make you feel more grounded. Nice curtains on the windows really helps to soften the space. Also helps at night. You can fully darken the room, which helps you sleep better, which helps you become more relaxed. And then if you are standing in the doorway looking into your bedroom, the back right area or corner is going to be the love and relationship area of your bedroom. So in that area, maybe that's a nightstand or something. You could do pairs of things. So maybe it's a pair of artwork of hearts or the colors of red and pink, or maybe it's a tried and true thing to do in feng shui is to do two candlesticks in that area where you're lighting the candles as
Mhm.
well. But again, you're putting that intention. Maybe you have a picture frame on your nightstand that sets the intention of the relationship you want to call in, or a description of a partner or of yourself, that kind of thing. But, the colors of pinks and reds, hearts are great symbolism. Crystals, you could use a, oh my gosh, why rose quartz is super great for that. You could put a big piece of rose quartz there. There's just so many things. Creating a little altar on your nightstand, of like little things like that. So I think balance and harmony, creating a little bit of space, and then making, aesthetically looking at the space and saying, okay, how can I soften this? Because if you have a ton of hard lines, straight lines everywhere, it feels hard. That's not like a soft, nurturing environment that you want to like bring this, it doesn't say, ooh, this feels loving and comforting. It feels hard and
Mm.
linear. And so I think adding things that bring softness, a throw on the bed, curtains, just little things like that. And these aren't things you have to spend a ton of money on. Like, we're all blessed with Facebook Marketplace and Amazon now. And there's so many things, that we can do on there. But those would kind of be like my kind of general things you could do within your bedroom to call on a partner.
That's very interesting. I read a book that was like calling in the one or something like that, and it said to do the pair of the night tables and make a space and all this stuff. And I think I did all that, and now I have my partner. But I don't know if it came for that or not. But it probably did. It probably helped.
Well, and that's the thing is like, again, like, to me, it's not that like feng shui or anything else we do is magic.
Yeah.
It's that we set the intention and then we take physical action that kind of sets that intention in motion and reminds us, because it's like, oh, whenever you see that space in your closet, you're reminded of why you did it. So it's like that subconscious play with our mind where it's like we're setting the intention and then that's reminding the things that we do in the physical remind us and inspire us, of those intentions that we set. And that's where I really think the magic comes in. Like, we are the ones with the power and the magic, not the home, not anything outside of us. This is all just symbolism, right? And symbolism can be really powerful.
That's awesome. So this is time for us right now. Do you have anything to add for our listeners to go from surviving to thriving? As a
Yes. So for me, surviving to thriving in your home looks like allowing yourself to become still in your space and asking yourself, how does this feel to me? Maybe writing that down and then saying, okay, how would I like this to feel? And then, no matter what that answer is, allow yourself to explore that and to just acknowledge that your home really is a reflection of what's going on inside you. And you can choose to ignore that, or you can choose to use it to your advantage to assist you into transitioning from surviving to thriving. And I know that for me personally, that was something that my feng shui practice did for me that I really never fully expected when I started to become certified and doing all my research. And I spent a lot of years living outside of my body, from trauma and things in my childhood, and very disassociated. And feng shui became like this. I like to say that it was like my gateway drug into spirituality and into myself. That I knew there was that internal connection. That's why I was obsessed with it. But the deeper I went into myself, the deeper I went into my home, the deeper I went in internally. And it literally completely changed my life and just opened me up to so many things that I probably never would have been open to, just even epiphanies with myself. And so, for anybody that has struggled, or has things from childhood or whatever, disassociating is a thing that you do. I just play with your home, play with feng shui, like get just take the simple information that we shared today and start playing with it in your life. Give it a couple weeks and see like what that does for you, and just be open. Because I think a lot of times, you know, we could be more open to things, and being open and surrendering to new things is really how we change our lives. And so just be open to this conversation, and see what it does for you. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I love that. That's so powerful. I agree. That's the same thing that I would say to people. Like growth comes from being uncomfortable, changing things. Like it's not hand to hand to be comfortable in the same way as you always are and expect different results, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. And this was a great conversation. And I love it. I learned so much.
Yay, Vero. Thank you so much for having me. It was so great to connect with you.
Me too. All right. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Please follow, like, and comment, share your experience, and come back next week.